Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We review anything and everything, and we are here continuing our build of the Lego Star Wars Ghost spaceship. Now we are on bag 4, and I am going to try to do from bag 4 all the way through bag 6 in this one sitting if I can. And with that being said, one thing that I realize is, unfortunately, to those who may have been enjoying this, I don't see myself doing a big build like this ever again. And I get it, some guys are familiar with doing the whole fast speeding up things up to do the, what do they call it again, speed builds. But I'm not familiar with that kind of stuff and how to do that, because I'm not an expert when it comes to all this video stuff. So with that being said, I'm sure that, there is that aspect of things where, people would say, well, you could just speed build. Well, I don't know how to speed build. So with that leaves us where everything is dragged out and very long. And I know that it's super tedious for me just as much as it is for you guys probably watching it. So not that I don't enjoy it, but it's just a very long build. So obviously it starts getting a little bit ridiculous. So let's see. But so far it's coming along, and I'm going to try to go as fast as I can, simply because now that I started it, it's only right that I finish the whole build rather than stop and then all of a sudden the build is finished and then you guys are like, well, hey, you finished the build, and we didn't get to see the entire build. So I'm not going to do that and just kind of abandon the build. So for that reason, I am going to finish it. And yes, what I had suspected before about, are some bags going to be a bit smaller? Well, bag 4 seems to be pretty small. There's a lot of tiny pieces, so quantity wise, it's probably, considered, as many pieces as some of the other bags. But in regards to actual, large pieces and whatnot, it's not that. So it feels like it should be pretty fast. Let's see if I can just move it along as fast as I can. Oh, and after taking a look at make sure that this fits on correctly. After taking a look at some of the pages up ahead, well, this is very sturdy when I press down on it. So you can see the structure of it is very strong. I press down on it hard and I know it's not going anywhere. So that's actually really a good thing. But what I was going to say is, after checking a few of the pages, some of the pages ahead, what I've come to see in regards to that structure thing that I was referring to. This is a very unique, interesting piece. What I come to realize with that the whole pillars thing that I mentioned in the previous video. If you run back to take a look at that, you'll see what I'm referring to. And I actually grabbed the wrong piece. That pillar, in the other video, I was talking about the pillars in the interior space, and if that's able to be removed. And as I looked at further pages going along, I realized that even if I tried to put other things to, you know, something feels wrong here. Oh, okay. I'm gonna do 2 of these builds. That's what I'm missing from this. This is ×2. So with those pillars and me trying to make more interior space, even if oh, these are the spring shooters. Okay. Because there's springs in these. I didn't know what it was that I was looking at as I had to put these boxes together. Let me angle this a little better that you could see. Some of the instructions in my build as I build. And of course, me trying to angle the camera is all over the place right now. So these things, like I said before, this video is not so much about every little detail of the build process as much as it is just kind of enjoying the flow of things. So bear with me. I believe this goes right here on each side. So I just want to make sure that it's aligned where it should be. And there you go. So I lost my thought for a moment, so I'm just gonna dial it back to what I was saying from the beginning about the whole pillar structure, and trying to have more interior space. So I looked up a few pages in advance to see if, you know, I could make that work. And essentially what I realized is that there's really no way to actually do that, unfortunately. To get rid of those pillars, they have too much structural, they have too much structural purpose in the build. I mean, I might be able to get away with trying to get around it, but then it's like you're doing a lot of, what happens is you're doing a lot of other things to try to make up for it. And essentially what ends up happening is all the work you're doing to get around it is so much that you're just like, you know what, let me just build it the way it should be built in that case. Because if you're doing that much work and it becomes that much of a headache just to add a little bit extra space, I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I would first have to know if I even have the pieces to do it. It's a lot of work. If you had the pieces on hand, then you could consider it, but it's a lot of work around. So, yeah. Let's see. One of these, and one of these. Yeah. So we will definitely see. Like I said, I won't really be able to do that. But who knows? We'll see later on down the line. And if I'm able to do anything like that or dissect things a little bit. But as of now, it looks like it'd be way too much work. I'm very curious to know what this piece is right here. And what it's going to. Wait a minute. Okay, so far this is not getting attached to anything yet. But, all right, I feel like, let me just build it because it feels like something's missing right now. And I don't know why. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it goes in 7, which is probably the middle. Put this right here. It says 1-to-1 size. That's interesting. So it should be 1, 2, 3. Let's go over here. Same thing over here. Here's how this thing's looking so far. Flip it upside down to go like this, and then we're gonna take this piece here, slap that on there. Take this yellow one, slap this on here as well. And then comes, we're gonna put this back like this. And then, so, it's not really saying, I guess this goes like this, but it's not, I don't really like the way that this looks in the picture. What I mean by that, or what I'm saying. Let me go with the fast forward. Well, you know what? I will do this last piece first, and then we'll check after the fact. But I feel like this right here, connecting like this, doesn't look exactly like the picture. It feels like this is not as long, like something's missing, is honestly how it looks. And oh, that's why. Okay. So this that I put on here was not the right piece. This was what I was mentioning before about how one thing can throw everything off. This, I was supposed to use a longer one. So, like I mentioned that before, about how one little mistake can throw everything off, and that is exactly what just happened here. That's why things didn't look right. So, like I mentioned before, just be careful with that because you can really throw everything off. Now this looks correct to the picture, where the amount of holes on the bottom here, down here, I'm sorry, match up to the actual picture. You can't really see the picture here that I'm looking at, but it didn't look right. So now we are on track and things look correct. Oh man, let's see where this is going right now. So this right here should go, I guess, a line right here. I don't really even understand this. Wait a minute. And I say that to say I'm laying this down here, but there's nothing holding it in place. Oh, nothing's supposed to hold it in place. I forgot, because if you watch some of the other people's builds, this is the stud shooter piece that knocks a shooter. So this is going to get held in place by something, but that's probably the piece I'm going to be working on now. That's going to hold it in place. So that's the kind of thing where if you didn't look at someone else's previous video to know that, you probably would be sitting there thinking to yourself, okay, well, how does that work? So yes, this piece right here is going to go on like that. This is going to come here, and then this should come down on it like that. And this seems to be a one of the landing gears is what it looks like. But let's see where that's going to go. So this is going to be the piece that holds that down. So this is going to come here. Interesting how that works. So this is that piece that comes down here, and then this you see moves. Oh my gosh. That is not good at all. Let's see here. It says take two of these, two of these, two of these, and two of these. So this one only has one extra piece so far after the fact. I'm gonna do this thing times 2. So we're doing that, and then we're gonna do the same thing. This seems to be, if I'm not mistaken, the other landing gears. So, that's something that's pretty good. Make sure that you put them down as tight as you can. And these ones are going to go over here, which, yep, they have holes in them to go all the way in. So that gives it its additional structural integrity with the Technic bar going through it. And then comes bag 5. So that took about just shy of 19 minutes. And now we get into bag 5. So what I usually do is I take the little bag that comes in that bag, and whichever bag I'm doing at that moment, in this case number 5, and I like to just put it someplace on its own. I'm going to put it in this corner this time, just so you know that that's probably special items in it that are a little bit separate from the main part of the bag, so that way you're not having trouble. So like, for example, right here, I'm putting together the base of Chopper. And I'm gonna put his headpiece. Make sure his head is facing straight, because we wanna make sure that he is facing straight, because I didn't do that with R2-D2. Famous famous R2-D2 the first time around. I put his head on incorrect. Chopper is actually shorter than R2-D2. That's very interesting because it gives him a dynamic of, you know, where he's different than R2-D2. So I think that's interesting. There he goes. Chopper. And now I'm going to put him over next to his buddy over there. He's kind of a little off screen, but I got him next to Beta. Is that his name? I don't really know if I'm saying that correctly. But I put him off the side with him. As we get our figures, we slowly put them to the side, building our little crew. That's one thing that, like I said before, like I like about ships like this is that, and you get the same effect with the Millennium Falcon, you get it with the Razor Crest, having this little crew, you know, that goes with the ship, and that's fun. You know, to me, that's just, that is definitely fun. So, oh wow. This piece fell off when I was working, and I actually put it in the wrong spot when I put it back. So there we go. I had to put it in the right spot. These were the pillars. Now you guys can see. Let me try to, I want to move this a little bit up to make sure you guys are always able to see what I have in view. And you can see the little guys over there now next to each other in the background. This was the pillar area I was referring to. And now you could see as I start building it out, this right here is what I was trying to look ahead to see if I can get rid of. And the problem becomes something puts on top of these for support. And you'll see later on that I can't really get around not having them there, which is, if you look in the previous video, I was saying about utilizing all this extra space. If I didn't have that, that's a full 3 studs on each side wide. So a total of 6 that I was trying to keep in the build. And maybe down the line, like I said, there'll be a way to figure out how to do that down the line after the build. And yes, it will suck to have to get, you know, take all that other stuff off later. But at the same time, is there not really much I could do about that now, because I'd have to go and see if I have extra Lego pieces laying around that I would be able to swap out for that. And right now, I just can't do that at the moment and figure out what I would need, because I'm not just figuring out the pieces I need. I'd have to be figuring out the build that I'm going to do to actually compensate for not having that. So that's something that right now I just don't have the capacity to do mentally or just time-wise, running around trying to find all these things. So matter of fact, here we go right now with this piece. This comes out over here, and see, so even coming up with, you'd be replacing this entire structure here, which is like a Z shape coming over like that. And then not a Z shape, but like a S shape, I guess, facing that way. You get what I'm trying to say. And then you'd have to compensate for those pillars. You then have to compensate for the plate that goes on top of it. So that's a lot that you'd have to replace in some way. Now, this top part you definitely need for structure. This part coming across here, you kind of don't need necessarily, from what I've seen looking kind of ahead, but at the same time too, expecting that you're going to be able to replace all that, because it connects with that. You'd really have to find a piece that works to do that. So like I said, it's something you'd have to really plan out. It's not something you could just at the spur of the moment say, I'm going to leave that whole pillar out and everything attached to it and just replace with maybe putting a tile over here for support on that side. and getting rid of all of this, because from what I'm seeing ahead, you'll see it in a moment as I get further along, that you don't need the part that comes over into your interior space. That is not crucial. These are the little doorways. They're Lego windows, but here they act as doorways for the little side ramps, which is a nice touch. You know, sometimes I catch myself rambling on in regards to the changes that I want to make, and then that takes my build to take even longer. So sorry about that. Just kind of get into that creative aspect of things. Like I mentioned in a previous video when I was building the Obi-Wan hut, I would love to become a master builder in terms of ships. But, you know, like I mentioned before, sometimes that only comes from the experience of building ships, and you start learning new techniques. So thinking out loud while I'm building is fun in that regard. Let's see. So we have this and this. And like I said, it's going to be very interesting to get to that point where I can really see what those pillars are for. Even though, like I said, I'm not going to dwell on changing them at this point, but it's definitely interesting to know what will they be supporting when that time comes. You can see everything's coming along now, all these little pieces and little textures that are being utilized. So that's pretty cool to see all that start coming along, and how much detail goes into all those little things. Like I said, from someone coming from the perspective of not being some kind of master builder. So I'm going to imagine, almost lost one of my pieces. I would imagine that, I don't know, that maybe a master builder can see this vision of like ways that they want to build things before they even start putting things together, and they're just like, I can see it. I can see it in my mind. But for me, that's just it was just doing his thing and going along with the build, because I'm not a ship master builder. It's interesting to see how all these little pieces, you know, and how all this kind of interior that you're watching is done. I would never even think outside of the box to that kind of level. So that part makes it very fascinating. And I guess I get why sometimes I'll see other content creators who put together Lego will sometimes say, you know, oh, that was a fun build, or is a, you know, fascinating build, or whatever the case is. And often, I guess. So here we're going to put these here as like support beams that go vertical up and down along there. But as I was going to say, I'm going to have to take this off screen for me to squeeze these in there. But how some people will get, you know, very excited about the builds and say, you know, that was a fun build. And I get it now, where I probably didn't get it as much before when people would say it, because, you know, for someone who's looking to learn the techniques, when you do these builds, you are learning, you know, having new insight on new techniques. So when they say that was an interesting build, it's probably because they're learning new techniques they didn't learn before. And I get that now. When before I used to watch and be like, you know, okay, why would they say one build is more interesting than another build, or they enjoyed the build process? But I get it now, since now really putting together, like I said, I put together one before, the Armor Marauder Star Wars set, but you know, and that was cool too. And there were some aspects about it, but it wasn't as complicated. And so I could see where someone would say with a more complicated build, they'd say, well, I really enjoyed the build process because they're learning new techniques. Like something like that, like I said, was totally outside of the realm of typical when you think to yourself, thinking outside of the box. This is definitely thinking outside of the box if a person was to realize or think to do that. So let's see. What we're about to do now is actually put down the base. And people say this is also where Chopper stands. These little things here is for him to stand. So I don't know if that's truly the case or not, but you can see right here, this area is where we're about to lay this down for our floor area. And there we go. Look at that, just dropping the panel down. It feels like one of those assembly lines where it drops down and then you see sparks because the machines are like welding it into place. There we go. It wasn't going in there very well, but there goes our platform now, giving us our interior floor. It's funny how I didn't see that, envision it going in that way before we even got to the stage. And now it's like, boom, you have that. Now, see, the interior space is looking, it's not that bad now that I have that plate in it. But my problem, like I mentioned before, is if I could get rid of those pillars, I would. I really would. And I have to see, because there might even be a way of, even if I can't get rid of the whole structure, I can take this gray piece off in those two barrel pieces, circular barrel pieces, and then at least that, I could get rid of that. And then, you know, it's not flat, but I'll still have some room to kind of play with. So I have to definitely see with that what I can do down the line. This right here looks like I'm about to make the sink. There's a piece like this. Oh, here it goes. It's a great one. I was about to say, I needed that particular color. So here we're putting this down. Here, I know you can't. Let me just try to show you guys some of these things, because so this will level this out, making it an even. This is not right. Okay, I'm putting this on the wrong side. This had to be flipped like that. So this whole shape sometimes can throw you off with things, because if you have to pay attention to where the front end is at, which I just didn't do at that moment. This is supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, a sink piece. Now, you know, I don't mind the sink being there, but I really feel these pillars here, I'm gonna really, I can't stop thinking about it. I really can't. And so I think when that time comes, I'm gonna really see if I'm capable of getting rid of that. Okay, there should be a little gray, almost flower-like piece. That's this is our knob. So the two front side areas of those same Z shape, I'm going to call them Z shape because it's easier for me to just think of it like that. And depending on the way you have them angled, they are like a Z shape. So those Z shape pillars, the front ones are not being used as support. This one's being used as a sink, which I knew there was a sink inside this build, but I didn't know that it was revolved around the pillar off the top of my head. And then this one over here on this side is the control panel on the top of this pillar. So, you know, you'd stand on that little platform here, that little bottom part of the Z pillar, and then it gives you a leg up to reach the sink, and the same over here to reach the control panel. So it's cool that you have those in there. I like those in terms of making it more, you know, like a living space. So I do like that. But as I mentioned before, I do like that for that spot being more whatever. But as I mentioned before, those other pillars, well, they just feel like they don't need to be there. And so I'm going to see still if it's something that I can get rid of. So first, we have this is coming down here. So this is going to lock this in for some support. It's interesting, just random thought, that this is something they could have put in the previous step and they didn't. And it's funny how some of these little details, maybe it goes on a height level where they want you to be consistent with the height level of things in terms of the build, if that makes sense. Like, okay, you're like this many tiles up, so that's where you're going to continue in the next part, even though that piece that I just did right there could have been part of something else. And here you have this. See, now this is funny too. Look at this. I have empty space right here of one stud wide. Now I have this hold on, let me just build this little piece of fruit here. This little piece of fruit here, and then it goes inside the bin here. I'm sorry if I didn't show that. This little piece of fruit goes into this bin. But my point, and you can close it up, the lid, which is great. I actually bought extra pieces similar to like this from Lego to go into my ship build of my Armor Marauder custom ship build. I just never got around to putting that around inside the build because I was still working on making engines. I wanted to make some more engines on that, but so that's cool. But my point I was gonna say is that I've got an extra tile, a one line tile space back here, or like, you know, one stud thick back there of space behind that little carton. And why do I have that? So I have to check later to see if that's going to even be something where I can just take this plate right here, move it back, and I give myself a little bit more space. See, these are all little things that without creating new things and in like rearranging the build, that you're going to try your best to utilize as much space as possible. Even in the first assembly of the Armor Marauder, without adding new things to it, I gutted certain things out and rearranged certain things just because that's what I wanted to do. You know, I felt that it made more sense for the way I wanted it to be. So without even changing much. So the same thing here, I'm going to do the same thing with a few things if I can. And this is interesting because now you're covering up those little things, the green and the red. So it's almost like they're, I don't know, like they're considered like lights. I don't really know what they're for, but it's just interesting that they're not the same color on there. What is it indicating? Like one is the, I'm not familiar with pirate terms when they're like starboard port and all that other good stuff, but maybe I know that they're supposed to mean like what side is what of the ship, almost like saying the left side, the right side, or whatever the case is, north, south, or whatever, but in ship terms, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Two of these. We've got two of these. Let's see. We've got two of these and two of the little black ones. And let's see. Okay, so these things almost look like little blasters. And maybe they are. And so we have these pieces here. Okay, we're just gonna bridge the gap over here. See, so this is another thing too that I just find interesting. If no one else could, ever point it out. But you see all that space inside there? Like, what could that be used for? What could that be used for? Like, it's just an empty space. And I get it. They probably felt like, well, we don't need to fill it with anything because it's just, we have enough structural integrity that we can leave it empty and it still works. And I get that because I've done that with some of my buildings in my Lego city that's in the background here, where some of the buildings, I can make some of the interiors hollow and not waste all that extra brick inside there. So I get that. But at the same time too, when you see space on these builds, at least I do, right away my mind goes to the place of like, well, what can be done with that space? Could it be used as a storage or something like that? Could somebody fit in there maybe? I don't know. These are where my mind goes to because I just like the idea of utilizing this space. But I love the way the ship's coming along. And even with those pillars there, the space in the interior, just in the interior, looks so nice. It's not a whole lot of space. It's probably a little bit more space than, say, the Armor Marauders original form, not the custom build that I did, turning it into a ship. But it's which goes to that set of having a lot of space on that set, because that set really had a lot of space for being what it was. So I actually really like that set. It's one of my favorite sets. But with that being said, for ships, the obviously, like I mentioned one time before, the whatchamacallit is number one, hands down. It is the controls for the pilot seat, I guess, because this is where the pilot's gonna sit. And if it's up to me, what I'll probably end up doing, because this is supposed to be the pilot's seat here, if I'm not mistaken, I might end up just throwing a chair in there, because why not? You know what I mean? So maybe I'll do that. I know I got an extra chair laying around. But as far as the interior space, like I was getting at, it's definitely not bad. It's not Millennium Falcon interior space, or Razor Crest interior space, which Razor Crest has a good amount of interior space when you really think about that whole bottom layer and how wide that stud is. That's like probably this whole thing is on the bottom of the Razor Crest is the equal to that whole bottom piece, but plus you have the top area where the cockpits are. So technically it probably is the same amount of space, but the only difference is that also you have that front area of the Razor Crest. The front, not the front cockpit area, but the front lower area where you have the bed and then the area, the whole thing. So it's a little bit more space than this. So you have Razor Crest is number one. Sorry that I'm rambling. You have Razor Crest is number one, and Millennium Falcon number one. The Razor Crest is like number two, and this is a close third behind the Razor Crest in terms of space, because you have this interior space, but then you also have the fact that that's separate from, say, the cockpit area, and then the little gunner area, and then you have a whole nother ship also. So these are all things that you have to consider, even though they're separate, but they're still part of the overall space where people are sitting at. You know what I mean? And you have the little gunner thing on top too. So when you consider someone there in the pilot seat and in the bottom gunner, you have three people now sitting around, and then the interior space is just free for people to just chill at because it's not being occupied by the people who are actually manning the ship, excuse me. So, and then also too, you have back here, and I have to wonder, will this space here be able to be utilized back here for anything? Or are those pillars going to get in the way? So once again, I'm sorry. I got to come back to it again. I'm sorry I am very sorry that it's so annoying to hear me say this, but I have to do it again. Those pillars, I really have to find out if I'm going to be able to get rid of them because they take up so much space. And there's nothing wrong with that if they're needed, but just the idea that might be able to squeeze out a bit extra space just really excites me when it comes to that. Because as I mentioned before, I am a big fan of interior space. So this is coming along okay. It's coming along okay. It's pretty long. Let's see after we finish this how things are coming along, and if I will go on to bag 6, because I said that I was going to, but this is definitely starting to become long in the tooth for this video. I don't know if that bothers you guys, but like I said, if you guys are going to watch it, you guys are going to watch it. If you guys aren't going to watch it, you aren't going to watch it. So that's fine. Now this is very interesting right here because you could see that this has very little in the way of support, but I guess that's will get reinforced a little later on. Okay, there you go. Speak of the devil. That comes right here. That extra reinforcement to hold it down. And once again, when I had questioned about below this area and that space right down there, and nothing is there, it's not utilized, it's just empty space, which is nothing wrong with that because it saves on bricks in terms of you having structural integrity. But just seeing empty space like that just makes you feel like you could use it for something. So who knows, maybe some people, well, this is all going to get covered anyway, so I know that technically won't even be something that's available, but you know, you never know, someone else might. Later on, I can really see, because this feels like a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It has a vibe to it of like a lot of hidden compartments and things that could be utilized. And I definitely feel that it's one of those things that maybe when people mod it later on down the line, they're gonna end up saying, you know what, there's a lot of room to mod, you know. And I could see that being the case where they make like little, like, say if someone like, I don't know, there's not going to be room for this because it's going to be like this saucer type of shape going on. But, you know, you might have compartments that you're able to utilize in some way, replacing certain bricks out and instead putting compartments where you can store things or things of that sort. So, you know, I'd be very curious to know how people start modding this when they start modding it. And that's not out of the realm of possibility because anyone who's seen, even for example, interesting. Make sure that I'm putting everything where it needs to go because it feels like, okay. Sometimes the arrows to point to you where you're putting your stuff, they don't do that sometimes. So you got to just kind of see it on the picture and know where you're putting everything. But what I was going to get at was for the mods, people have modded the Millennium Falcon interior greatly. There are some videos where someone goes into great detail modding the interior of the Millennium Falcon. I'm not saying someone has to go that hard with this, but then even the Razor Crest, some people went to the level of modding that, not to the level that they did with the Millennium Falcon, probably because the Millennium Falcon was around longer and people had more input for it. But you get the point. You know, when something's around for some time, people start getting into their mods. And I remember with the Millennium Falcon, they modded the entire interior with the Razor Crest, somebody put it where I remember seeing one video where they mounted the speeder bike, which can go in the back of the Razor Crest. They mounted it on the ceiling of the cargo area, so that way they still had room on the bottom. So little things like that. You may have someone who eventually gets to the point of modding this, especially if someone just has that interest to do so. And I could definitely see somebody having the interest to do so with this ship. So I can't wait to see that when that time comes. And I think the way things are going now, I'm definitely not going to do bag 6 at this very moment, though I will get a chance to do it at another time. And it's not for not wanting to try, but it is definitely getting late at the moment, and the video is getting long. So this is interesting. These things are facing this way. I wonder what it is that these things are going to connect onto, if they're connecting onto anything. Right now they look very fragile, so it'll be very interesting to know what those are going to connect to. Oh, okay, I actually put them on wrong. Look at that. They actually go above here. Like I said before, be careful with how you connect things, because you don't want to see a mistake. Sometimes you'll catch it anyway and it won't be a big deal, but sometimes you may not catch it, and maybe it is something that affects other things to the point where, you know, where later on down the line it's a problem and you can't take it back. So this is going to go here, and look at that, perfectly aligning right there, which is actually pretty cool. That is actually pretty cool. I think so. And then so now we have this piece here, and that right there, and it's gonna go right here, and then I am gonna guess rinse and repeat for the same next one. Yep, indeed. For some reason the picture just kind of had me looking backwards, so that took me a little moment. For these, very curious to know where they're going. So looks like they are connecting here, which seems to be a stability thing, which there's nothing wrong with that. They're connecting that tan or sand color, tan or brown, to the wing. And then you're gonna do the same here with the gray connecting to the white wing for some more support. Nothing wrong with that. And I've got a little piece of hair stuck in between the brick. Okay, so I think that that is Okay, we got 4 more pieces for the last of this brick. And so let's cap this off. This goes down here for a little bit more stability. Same over here. So nothing major, just some stability spots along with some color. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm not going to do bag 6, but we will just do a quick recap on what we did here. But first what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little baggie for my extra pieces and I'm going to just toss them in here. So that way we kind of keep things a little neat because all our extra pieces are starting to, in every bag we get a few more extra pieces and they're starting to become a lot. So let's try to make that happen. Cool. So, let me see. Yep. So we finished there and bag six. I feel like bag 6 will add like an extra 20, maybe 30 minutes. No, I feel like it'll add like an extra 30 minutes to the build process right now. But here you could see that interior space is looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. You know what? I was going to do a recap right now, but I'm not going to do that. I am going to do number 6. We're going to rock through this. I am tired, but we are going to push through together. Team Ghost Ship. We're going to try to push through because you know what it is? I am really curious still to find out if I'm going to get into these pillars. I really want to know what's going on there with these pillars. I know I'm obsessed. I'm officially obsessed with these pillars. So that's something that I need to figure out. So we're putting this here. I don't know if that's a support thing, because it does intertwine both of those pieces there. I'm going to try to build as fast as I can this time around because, of course, I did take a minute with the other one. The other 2, and I don't know if it was that long. So we're getting 2 of these here. We're getting, this is going over the wing. And another one on this side going over the wing. Okay, I gotta make sure that these things stay structurally on because sometimes when you press down, when you're trying to fit the pieces in, it causes a problem. Now this could have been in that same step. I don't know why they made it a separate one. And I need me a gray piece block. This is gonna go here. I'm gonna have to hold this just in case next time because I don't want this thing to fall apart. But I think what we're doing is building the support along here. Now let's see here. We got 4 of these pieces here, which is cool. This is looking like almost like that kind of rear greeveling is what they call it. When it comes to like the detail, like I said, I'm going to try to go as fast as I can at this point, and then we can just kind of recap at the end of this video on what we did. But so this seems to be building or setting up the basis for the so this has like this acts as the lower saucer level, and then or like a plate. And then so it does have Millennium Falcon qualities about it, but different in the way it's built. And then after that, we're gonna you have the lower area, and then you have the upper area, and then between that is, like I said, some people call it greeveling, I think, if I'm saying that correct. You can post in the comments if I'm saying it incorrect. But in terms of like detail, in between this saucer pancake shape. So this is, I think, applying to that kind of detail, along with obviously also being support, I guess. And I'm trying to get through as fast as I can. So here we're about to touch on a little bit. I'm going to show you in a minute. And that sound was letting us know that it's very late. Here we're going to touch now on this part. This is the beginning of the pillars. Well, I mean, more onto those pillars. And this is what I was saying about, I don't know if this is, we're getting there. I don't know if it's going to be a support, something that needs support, that's going to be for support. I'm sorry. But so this is going to come here once again. See, so now this is, and you'll see it better on this side. This is now, and obviously the same thing's going on over here, but you can see it better here. This is now on that Z-shaped pillar, and the support beams is here. So you see, it would have been hard to do without it, because now it's going over the part that overhangs of the Z part. So not the base part over there. I could have done something about that, but now this is coming over those circular bricks, is above it. So it means that getting around that now would have been impossible at this point. The most I could have done, maybe, and I don't even think this would have been structurally sound, is have the 3-piece come over, nothing under in these circular parts. It will be empty, hollow, and then I could support it with some extra support right here, like a plate to support it. But then what would happen is this would be floating on emptiness, which is not great support at all. But you know, that kind of, and if these weren't here, you could put another plate here above it, and then maybe make it into like a bed space. Maybe, I don't even know. At this point now, it just simply comes down to, you really can't. Oh, and guess what? The next piece I'm doing right now is icing on the cake. Those pillars have to now be there because they're part of a very important structural part now, because everything's stacking on top of them. So there would have been no way to get around those. I'm sorry for anyone who was getting their hopes up like I was. There's no way to get rid of those. You do have space back here too, so that kind of sucks too, to know that you got space back there and you can't really utilize it, you know? So that kind of sucks to a degree, you know? And I'm sure when I look at it here, if someone really did some heavy customization, you can probably get rid of that to some degree, but still, it's a lot of work just for a little bit of extra space. And I'm not saying it's not worth it, but you really would have to go into your brainstorming and really, like, you know, buckle down with your thoughts and figure out like how you would do it. It wouldn't be an easy thing to do at all. So that's just something to realize. It's definitely just not easy. That's all. And Okay, so where is this piece going here? This is going on the back of this. Let me turn this around so you can kind of see this thing a little better, even though this is not how they're showing it on the thing. They have the whole diagram facing the other way, but, well, not completely, but I want you guys to be able to see this. And now you can see the back too. So we've got this going on. You know, so I guess this is just one of those things where, you know, it is what it is. This is the support that's needed, and we can't get around it, at least not right now. But like I said, I do look forward to seeing other people who are master builders, because I'm not a master builder, but those who are, and they start really just kind of dissecting this and doing little things to it. Because I will definitely say, hands down, one of the videos that I have seen for the Millennium Falcon, where they, you know, did the whole interior change 100%. They were a master builder to do that, because I would have never even thought some of the things that they did was so intricate that it was like the play scale version, and it had as much detail as the UCS version for the most part, and that was just incredible. So 100%, hands down, that was definitely something that you look at and you're like, yeah, that's definitely master builder status. At least I'm gonna say that it is, because that's my thoughts on that. So, yep. And so my point, I'm sorry, I paused, was I can't wait to see somebody else go to work with their master builder skills and just kind of really do what they do in this interior. And another thing too that's interesting is, like I said before, I've never had, you know, a big Star Wars set before, or spaceship or anything like that. So maybe when someone else decides to do something really awesome, I'll be able to do the same with mine. I mean, I don't know how well I would be able to do any kind of building techniques on my own, at least not yet, because like I said, I'm not at that stage. But, you know, comment down below if you thought that what I did with the Armor Marauder, turning it into a personal hero ship, as I continue to mention, I coined the term, if you think at all that that was a pretty good job. But to me, I definitely, though I enjoyed it, it was very simple. I just expanded, I gutted it and I expanded it. But doing intricate stuff on this level is on a whole nother level. So anyone who ends up, you know, being aware on how to do that with this build, I'm definitely looking forward to see that. So one thing I'm gonna make note is, back up in this space back here where I could put my finger, you've got, behind that pillar, you've got 3 studs wide of empty space that it's, you know, I don't know if after the build's done, that's gonna get completely covered up, but as of right now, you really can't squeeze anything in there. And, you know, I feel that that's definitely a thing, you know, that you lose that space. It's one of these things that's just like eating at me, that you got that space back there, and, you know, it's like, well, guess what? You can't utilize that space. So I'm still gonna see down the line if there's anything I can do. Not obviously, I can't get rid of the pillars, though that's a gone and done deal. But at least when it comes to can I squeeze something back there and make it a useful space? Maybe I can still do that. Maybe I can put something back there to make it a useful space. So this number 6 is definitely coming along faster, and I can see how some people's builds go very fast if they probably weren't recording their whole build process. But me, since I am, and the rambling is why it takes a little bit longer. So once again, sorry about that, and bear with me. And yeah. See, so this is gonna come back here. And what is this, like a support piece? That's very weird. This is gonna need some support on its own because it's not a very strong thing. That's where the Phantom is going to rest when it does, or when it's time for it to be on the build. I wish I ended up having more of those left over as pieces, but I know I won't have that. And the reason why I say that is because that can dub as a bed piece to a degree, that front piece. I have extras of those though that I bought specifically for that purpose. 2, 3, 4, and this little tile here. And I will also say that, you know, I know some people have these views where for the build, the speed builds, where it's coming from above real high, probably with a really high tripod and whatnot, and you get to see all the little details coming downwards. Sorry, that's not my thing. I'm just enjoying it, like I said, with the convo, and just, this is new for me. So once again, sorry about if things are not the way most people are used to, but this is more so like a relax build session. If it's something that you guys are, you know, enjoyed, I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Okay, so this is gonna go like that, and this is gonna go like this. Okay, so these have some kind of clamps here. I hope that all these things are going to, you see, this is getting built up very high, which is very interesting. Over here. And the 6 bag was not that bad. It seemed to have gone relatively quick. So far we are about 14 minutes in, which at the time I said might take 20 something minutes, and we're almost done with the bag. And then after that, I will do a quick recap of where we're at right now. Yep, this is my last page for this one. So I'm going to be done in one moment. Okay, so this comes here, and there's 3 pieces with that. This one goes here to do the exact same, because we get 2 of these builds here. And then where do these go? So this looks like it's thrusters to a degree. I totally forgot. We are gonna have those big thrusters on it. I forgot all about that doing this build, that we're gonna have those really big thrusters. So this is probably thruster support coming up, but we also have the holes in the back here for the Technic pieces for those big thrusters that are gonna be in there. So this is it. I'm going to close the bag, and in the 7th bag, which I don't have out right now, is actually going to start with the little boy in the set. I forget his name at the moment. Jarvis, is it? I'm not sure, but anyway, so just putting some extra pieces away, and just to kind of recap on this now. So we're really coming along now. We have bag 7 is what's coming up next of a total of 13. But I think the majority of the build, obviously you can see here, is already, coming along. It feels nice. It feels very sturdy. That interior space, it's nice, but it felt so much more roomier before we started incorporating this right here, which really takes away a lot, because not only are you losing the 3 studs wide coming in this way, it's actually 6 because they're, 2 by 3 is what we are losing over there from that spot from the Z pillar. But then in addition to that, you're losing another 6 3 by 2, so 6 studs behind it on this side, because this covers that up, which obviously you need it for support, but you just lost a big chunk of space. So on both sides here, you lost a total of 12 studs over here, 12 studs over here, and that's a lot. That's a lot. And the fact that, like I said, this is still there, but you really can't really utilize it like that. I can get my finger in there, but what else can I put in there that's going to be worthy? Maybe you could put, maybe I could take this, maybe I could do something like this, but I don't know how that's going to be. I could take that, and maybe, see, this is not even that easy to do, but maybe you could take it. See, it's not even one of those things that you could just in it out whenever you want. Even if I was able to do it, it's really not easy to do. I was gonna say I could have thrown it over there, but that's not even very easy to do, to even get it in there like that. So I gotta see if anything else is utilized here. See, I could push it down there, and now you have it there. That's not that bad. Look at that. Leave it in the corner over there. Yeah, it's not great. You can't, you can move it, but it's not great. But at least it's out of the way, right? So I don't know. It's not easy to get out, so it would become annoying if it's something that you're actually gonna play with and utilize and take it out. Then you're gonna be a little annoyed, because you really can't get it out of there that easy. But I'm trying to find a way to keep some space here. So I don't know. We got to figure this out. Obviously, the front pillars of those same ones here didn't require anything. So you were able to do things like put a sink and put, a control panel, which is cool. These ones obviously need to be there for support. It kills me so much. I can't even begin to tell you how much it kills me. So I don't really know. Now, another possibility too that I just thought about, and I got to see later on in the build. You see this right here, and they put that little silver piece there. That could be removed, and then you can put a 2x1 plate there, and then you can put a flat how many spaces would this be? 6x2, and you can put a 6x2 piece there, and then you can make that just a platform for something. Maybe you could put some things on it. So I definitely think I'll do that to try to utilize this space. That's actually a good idea. Or even in addition to that, then you can even make like a little stepping spot that comes up to it. So if you got a platform here and then you're able to step up to it, something will have to be utilized there. I'm going to do something. If something is not built there later on in the build, I'm putting something there so I could utilize that. Maybe it could be a bed space. I'm not 100% sure if I could turn it into that, but if I can, I will try. Or maybe I could build some extra support here, maybe one extra support, and then I could make that a full like 3x6 to come across like that. And then now it's like a little platform area that takes up that space, and it could be used for something, whether it's a sleeping quarter or something can be used there. So I'm gonna try to work with that space if I can, to make up for the fact that I can't get rid of these pillars. So I'm gonna see. All right, you guys, with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video.